Welcome to today's episode. If you're learning English, you've probably experienced this. You want to say something, but before you speak, your brain starts translating from your native language. You try to find the right words, but by the time you do, the conversation has already moved on. This is a common problem, but the good news is that you can train your brain to think directly in English. Today, I'll explain why you translate in your head, why it slows you down, and how you can break this habit. By the end of this episode, you'll have practical exercises to help you speak more naturally and confidently. Why do you translate in your head? First, let's talk about why your brain does this. How you learned English. Most people learn English by translating words from their native language. Schools often teach vocabulary by giving direct translations instead of encouraging you to think in English. This means your brain is conditioned to look for a translation before producing speech. Your brain is comfortable with your native language. Your brain takes the easiest route. Since you've been thinking in your native language your whole life, it automatically tries to process English in the same way. Fear of making mistakes. Many learners are afraid of saying something wrong. To avoid mistakes, your brain tries to translate first to make sure it's correct. However, this process actually makes speaking harder. Grammar differences. Languages don't always follow the same structure. If you try to construct sentences in English based on your native grammar, it can create confusion. Now that you understand why translation happens, let's talk about why it's a problem. Why translating in your head slows you down. Conversations move quickly. When native speakers talk, they don't wait for you to translate. If you're always translating, you'll struggle to keep up. English is not a direct translation of your language. Many words and phrases don't have direct translations. If you rely on translation, you'll get stuck trying to find the perfect word. It takes more mental effort. Translating requires extra steps. You hear something in English. You translate it into your native language. You think of a response in your native language. You translate your response into English. You finally say it. This process is slow and exhausting. Now, let's get into the solutions, how to stop translating and start thinking in English. How to train your brain to think in English. Start with simple words and objects. Instead of translating, associate English words directly with objects. Look around your room and name things in English: window, chair, book, phone, shoes. Do this every day to train your brain to connect English with meaning rather than with translation. Use English for daily activities. Think in English when doing simple tasks. If you're making coffee, describe it in your head: I am pouring water. The coffee is hot. I need sugar. The goal is to narrate your life in English without using your native language. Practice 1-minute thinking exercises. Set a timer for 1 minute and think only in English. Choose a topic like your daily routine or your favorite hobby and try to form sentences without translating. Start with simple ideas, then gradually increase complexity. Learn to explain words in English. If you forget a word, don't translate, describe it in English. For example, if you forget the word umbrella, you can say, it is something you use when it rains to stay dry. This method helps you stay in English mode. Use English to English dictionaries. Instead of bilingual dictionaries, use monolingual dictionaries like the Cambridge or Oxford Dictionary. These help you understand words in English, rather than relying on your native language. Practice shadowing. Shadowing is when you listen to native speakers and repeat what they say immediately. This improves your ability to process English without translating. Try watching English videos and mimicking the speaker's words and tone. Limit your native language. Try setting a specific time each day when you only use English. For example, 1 hour per day where you think, write, and speak only in English. This will train your brain to stay in English mode for longer periods. How to handle mistakes and build confidence. Fear of mistakes is one of the biggest reasons people translate in their heads. Here's how to overcome it. Accept that mistakes are normal. Even native speakers make mistakes. The important thing is communication, not perfection. Focus on fluency, not accuracy. Your goal is to communicate ideas, not to speak perfectly. If you make a mistake, keep going instead of stopping to correct yourself. Surround yourself with English. The more you hear and read English, the more natural it becomes. Watch movies, listen to podcasts, and read books in English to immerse yourself in the language. Practical exercises to stop translating in your head. The 1-minute challenge. Talk about any topic for 1 minute without stopping. Start with easy topics like your morning routine or your favorite food, then move to more complex topics. Describe pictures. Look at a picture and describe it in English. This forces you to think creatively in English rather than translating. Question and answer exercise. Ask yourself questions and answer them in English. For example, what did you do yesterday? What are your plans for the weekend? Use English with friends or language partners. If possible, find a language partner and agree to speak only in English during conversations. Write a daily journal in English. Writing helps organize your thoughts in English. Write about your day, your goals, or something interesting that happened. Final thoughts. Learning to think in English takes practice, but it's absolutely possible. Remember, translating in your head is a habit that can be changed. The key is to immerse yourself in English and train your brain to think directly in the language. Start small, name objects, describe actions, and practice thinking in English for a few minutes every day. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. The more you practice, the more natural English will feel. Challenge yourself today, spend 10 minutes thinking only in English. Describe your surroundings, your plans, or what you're doing at the moment. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.